Hello and welcome to a new episode of Sega News Bits. I'm your host George, and with me is Barry.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about Yakuza 0, who is coming out later this month, and a lot of people are very excited about this remake. It's the first entry that's been brought to America that's on the PS4. They released in 2015, they released Yakuza 5, not physical, this one's getting a physical release. And Sega sent us an early code to try the game out and give you a review, which we'll have on the website on the 19th. And I'm thinking of doing a video review, so come back for that. Here. Ooh, I know. I usually
like your video reviews.
Yeah, we never do video reviews on the site. It's mostly because Sega used to give us, not early codes, so it would be like, who cares after a few days, right? But
yeah, I like, here's a 30-hour RPG, here's the review code the day before release.
Yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, good luck with that, right? But now they're giving us a lot of time, so now I can put stuff together and get some gaming in. I've been sitting and playing a lot of Yakuza 0, and let's talk about the beginning of the game. This game, right away, okay, looks a lot sharper than the Yakuza 5. Like, the textures, some of them have been improved. It's not like next gen, like, oh, it's Uncharted 4, it looks amazing. I mean, it still has its drawbacks, but it's like the improvement is so like noticeable right away because when you play Yakuza 5, the textures are blurry. This game has sharper textures. The cutscenes are they're as equal. I mean, Yakuza always has good cutscenes, but the controls feel good, like especially when you're fighting, it looks good. But it also falls back to like its old clutches of the old games. Like, if you find this to be a negative, I don't know, a lot of people on here that are listening to this think this is a negative. The game takes forever to start. Like in the beginning, I was an hour in and they were still doing tutorials and telling me the story of what's happening. And is the story super complicated that they need an hour to set it up? No, but they always do the slow drawing you in slowly into the world. Some people seem to really like that. Some people seem to dislike it. I think a lot of Western gamers at this point are more about getting into the game as quickly as possible. The story, it's in the 80s, right? So it's a prequel to Yakuza 1. And you play as a young Kazuma Kiryu. You basically, in the beginning of the game, you're beating up this guy for a loan shark, right? You're trying to build your name up in the Yakuza organization. So you're not well known. You're a young man. Mm-hmm. And you beat this guy up, you get the money, and there's like a bigger plot going with that because like the next day he ends up dead. So now you have to go and like talk to the Yakuza bosses, and they're like, oh yeah, he got shot in the head. So now you're like, who would frame this nobody? And then you start noticing that there's bigger threads underneath that. They're like, I don't want to get too much into it, but yeah, there's always more into the image and you're investigating. It's pretty interesting in that way. It's also interesting when you fight people. They don't call you an old man anymore. They just they're like, hey, who the hell are you, punk? And then they like always mention your age. That's something I always notice in Yakuza games. Like, they always mention your age, especially in the newer ones. I mean, not the newer ones, but the older ones, because this is a prequel. When you're older, they always mention that you're an old man. And this one, they mention that you're the same age as them. I don't know if that's on purpose or just weird writing, or that's how it is in Japan. A lot better. They also added this new system, right? Where you fight and then you could switch fighting styles by pressing the D-pad. Before, you would use that to get weapons. You could hide them, and then you could bring them out like a baseball bat in the middle of a fight. Oh, now yeah, there's like the first one you unlock, it's called Rush Mode. So it's basically like you're way faster, and it's more about you waiting for them to punch you and then dodging them. You get 3 dodges on it, and everything's super quick, the fighting style. So that's pretty cool. That's new. When you beat them up, also, I think I'm rambling on a lot about the game right now.
Oh, that's good.
One of the new things they added was when you beat them up, they drop money. It's kind of like City River Ransom, sort of like a callback to that game.
River City Ransom.
Yeah, so it's like you beat them up and then they drop money, and then like it'll tell you like you got times this money, and if you do a combo and a longer combo, they drop more money. And with that money now, you could invest in yourself, they call it in the game, and you could buy unlockables. And in the other one, it's like they gave you like your own currency for unlocking your moves. So now they made it into money in this one. I don't know why. I heard it in the interview that they wanted to make it based on money. I guess the 80s in Japan was like, they thrived. So it was like, it's money's a big deal. Everything in Japan, it seems like they really like money.
Yeah, well, you see bills dropping from the sky on the cover, and at Sega's demos at events, they would have the like everything was covered in fake bills all over the place.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like a big thing in this game. It's also nice to see characters that were in Yakuza 1 that didn't make it throughout the other games. I'm not going to say any names because I don't want to ruin it for people that haven't played Yakuza 1 because it's coming in 2018. But
yeah, I was going to ask about that. So like, you know, it's kind of like the Rogue One, a Star Wars story of Yakuza games, because I'm assuming then that there's some pretty minor characters that either play a bigger role in this or get equal screen time as they did in the first game. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. There's like your best friend Nishiki, who is the villain in Yakuza 1. He's your best friend in this, obviously, because that's the past, you know, the story. Yeah. So in this one, you talk to him, and there's no animosity or anything like that. But yeah, in the first one, you go to jail for 10 years, and you take the fall for Nishiki, your friend. So this one is like they build up that relationship in this game. So it's kind of interesting in that way. So it's a lot of little interesting things. They also have you know, the city exploring. It's a lot smoother too, but the graphics are kind of hit and miss. They use this filter. So, you know, when you see far away, it's very cinematic, they think. I hate it in games. I don't know why. I don't play games to be watching a movie, but everything, if something's far away or close to the camera, it's blurry. I dislike that. I don't like that filter. But it's on here.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what make video games kind of unique, in that even the human eye, I'm getting a little technical here, but, you know, like even the human eye or camera lenses, they can't focus on everything. And so in video games, everything's sharp, you know, even as far away and as close up as you're looking, everything's sharp. And so you're saying everything in the background would get blurry, right? Yeah, yeah. And, well, and I don't have anything really to complain about. I'm really into the game right now, actually. I'm surprised. Like, one thing I kind of, like, hate about these kind of games is that they give you all these things to do, right? So I'm always like, oh, I want to do this, oh, I want to do that. And then I spend way too much time doing one thing, like going to the arcades. And I'm like, God, now I have to review this game, and I haven't done any of the story. And then I always tell myself, I'm just going to go through the story, and then I'll start playing the mini games, falling for that trap again in this game. And that's a good thing, because you got to enjoy the game. Do you mind if I interview you and ask you a few questions that I have about the game based on your experience? Well, if I gotten that far for the answers, I'll give them to you, yeah. Oh, all right, cool. Well, in kicking it off, then, you said that you don't get to... Do you actually play every once in a while between cutscenes, or is it just straight cutscenes? It's cutscenes for a while, but then you, like, show up. It's, like, the most random things, too. It's, like, there's this part in the game where you're, like, okay, you have to follow Nishiki, right, to a bar. And it's, like, hold R2. That's it. And then he'll just talk to you about city life and how everybody's worshiping money and the economy's doing well, and how to be a better Yakuza guy, and how you have to pay girls to be with you because the bosses can't get girls and they like guys with girls, stuff like that. Yeah. And then all of a sudden these two drunk guys are fighting, and then all of a sudden Kazuma's like, stand here, I'm gonna beat them up. And then you beat them up, and then they're like, oh, they come to their senses. Oh, we're sorry for arguing. Come on, young man, let's leave. And they like leave like friends. Like, what? They teach you the gameplay. In between. And when does the title appear? Is it like one of those things where you play for 2 hours and then it's like Yakuza 0, or is it at the very beginning? It's kind of it's in the beginning, but it's like 30-40 minutes, and then it says chapter 1, and then you're like, okay, and then it's more talking and more. It's very tightly controlled, right? The gameplay. It's like you can't leave, you can't just go anywhere you want. You have to go from point A to point B for a while, for like an hour and a half. Right. And that's another thing I was going to ask. So for people who are first-timers to this, obviously Yakuza 0 is a very good intro title, but they should realize that this is not Grand Theft Auto, and you know, you're not going, it's not a sandbox game in the sense that you can just go insane distances off the map. People sometimes disagree with me, but I consider it like a beat 'em up game, like Die Hard Arcade or Streets of Rage in 3D.
and mixed with RPG overworld and a bunch of mini games scattered around. So it's kind of like playing Final Fantasy's open world. Yeah, it's open world, but it's very like you just go from one point to another point. That's why it's there. And that's kind of the way Yakuza is. It's not too much to do in the overworld besides fighting random people like an RPG. So yeah, it's not like Grand Theft Auto at all. If you're gonna come in thinking it's an open world game like Grand Theft Auto, you're gonna be disappointed.
Okay, and then the other thing I wanted to know was, how are the mini games? Like, what have you played so far?
I just been in the arcades, so it has like Fantasy Zone, and it has a bunch of arcades like that. And it's funny because like I'm playing this game and I'm going straight to the arcades the first time I get to do anything. I play some karaoke because they introduce you. The first mini game they introduce is karaoke, and it's over the top as I expected. There's this one song you and Nishiki play, and then all of a sudden you guys are both dressed like 80s hair metal band guys, and you guys are singing and pointing to the camera and like getting really into it. It's like ridiculousness. This game is ridiculous. But I haven't played too many mini games yet, but I'm still opening them up.
Okay, so like, and I guess my last question would be like, I know people make comparisons to Shenmue with this series. I don't want to get so much into the gameplay comparisons, but kind of the feel or the mood. I always get the vibe that Yakuza is both kind of deadly serious, like a Sopranos episode, but then it can just get off-the-wall wacky, which are two things that I think Shenmue is not, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's not like Shenmue. There's some similarities. You could tell there's been some stuff where this team has been influenced by Shenmue, but Shenmue, I consider that like the first game, a small life simulator, so you get to see how life in the 80s is for a small rural town.
Yeah.
And this is more like city, and it's more simplified. Like it doesn't have the amount of polish that Shenmue had even back then. Like they went way into detail. You could tell that the guys from Shenmue have a lot more money than the guys from Yakuza when it comes to making games.
Right. So everyone doesn't have their own little life. Like all the NPCs, you can't follow them and you home and like open up drawers and stuff.
No, definitely not. They're like just basically walking there, kind of like in Grand Theft Auto, where they just there just to be in the city to make you immersed.
Right, but you can bump into them and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing? Watch it."
Yeah, pretty much, but they don't have a personality or anything. Some of them will talk like with little bubbles, like, "Hey, what are you doing?" or some stupid stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But it's not immersive like in Shenmue. It's not like that at all.
So, I said that was my last question, but I guess if I had another last question, it would be in terms of the gameplay. Despite this being a prequel, would you say this is like an evolution of Yakuza 5?
It's kind of hard. It looks like they're changing little things around here and there, but I would say so far right now it feels a lot smoother than 5. I think it's because you're bumping it up to the PlayStation 4. Mm-hmm. It feels, because Yakuza 5 just felt like a little choppy, like it was running maximum on PS3 or something. But this one even though I think the PS3 could pull out a lot more horsepower than Yakuza 5 threw at it. But this one feels smoother. It just looks the same though, like the graphics, just sharper. It's like running it in HD, like it's running in higher resolution, and it runs smooth for what I played. So I think if people like Yakuza 5, they're going to be pretty excited to play this. So far it hasn't let me down. There's always plot threads that are going to let me down, and probably complain about it in the review on the 19th. Are you excited to play Yakuza 0? What are your thoughts about it coming to America? Are you going to buy digital or physical? Let us know in the comments below. Dude.
Alright. Yeah. Dude. You were trying to think of something to say at the end.
Yeah,
You'd be like, I was like, I don't know